morning, learners. Today we are going to study the graph of the function sine and cosine. And we have this general formula for graphing the sine and cosine. And this one is y is equal to a, which is the amplitude, and then the function sine or cosine. And then we have the b. The coefficient of x is used to find the period, in which the period is equal to 2 pi over the b, or in terms of degrees, that is 360 degrees divided by the numerical coefficient of x there. Now, what is this bx plus c? That one is the phase shift, meaning we have the bx plus c and we are going to solve for the x. That will tell us if we are going to shift our graph to the right or to the left. And what is that d? The d is the vertical shift. When we have the 0 here, if we have a positive vertical shift, then we go up. If that is positive 2, then our principal axis will be shift 2 units upward. If that is negative 2, then we shift our axis or the y 2 units downward. But before we go to the application of our formula, let's have our review of our wave. The sine wave, cosine wave, the general wave. So this line here, class, is called the principal axis, and this one is the 0. Now, the highest point in our wave is called the crest, and the lowest point is called the trough. So here we have crest here, another crest there. We have so many crests if we are going to continue our graph, and we have so many troughs here also. Okay. Period is the displacement, meaning from crest to crest, that is one displacement or period. So from here up to here is a period, that p here, or from here up to here is a period. A period is one cycle. So here, like that, we have one cycle or one complete circle. Now, for sine and cosine, why is it that for sine, the sine starts on the 0? This is sine wave. So if we have a basic sine, one cycle is from 0 up to 2 pi. 2 pi is 360 degrees, as in a circle like this. From here is 0, so we have 90, so we have here 180, half is pi, so this one is pi over 2. And 270 degrees is 3 pi over 2. And that one is 2 pi again, one complete revolution. So that is for the basic. Sine and cosine, the period is 2 pi. Okay. So we have this one. Why is it that for the cosine graph, it starts only positive 1 when the sine starts on the 0? So I will explain that one to you by using this one, this figure class. Now here in our graph, this one is the positive 1 and this one is the negative 1, meaning this one is our range, and this A is the amplitude. The amplitude is the highest or the lowest point in a wave from the principal axis. So we have two amplitudes. We have the amplitude going up and the amplitude that is going down. This one is going to the highest point and the other one is going to the lowest point. So we have two amplitudes here. The amplitude is from highest to the principal axis, or from principal axis to the lowest point. And A is very easy to spot. Why? Because that is the numerical coefficient of our sine or cosine. If you don't see any numerical coefficient like y is equal to sine or y is equal to cosine, our amplitude is 1. And this -1 to +1 is the range of values for our sine and cosine. So for sine, our sine maximum point is 1. It can't be greater than 1. And the lowest point for sine and cosine is -1. It can be less than -1. So let's have this one to know or to learn why the sine wave starts from 0 and why the cosine wave starts from the +1. So we have a circle here, class, and let's have the radius of our circle equals to 1. So 1 unit, maybe 1 centimeters, 1 meter, 1 kilometer if you want. So this one is 1, this one is 1, everything is 1 unit. That is the radius of our circle. When we draw a triangle here, this one becomes the hypotenuse. Now, this vertical here is our y. This horizontal here, from here, not from there, from here up to here is our x. And this is our theta. Okay. Now, when the theta becomes so small that theta becomes 0, what happens? So, if our theta is equal to 0, it's going to show you like this one is almost going to 0, and from here up to here is 1. This hypotenuse is 1. And what do you observe with the y here? What happens to the y? If our value of the theta is becoming smaller and smaller, what happens to the y? So when it is already 0, the y becomes 0. What about the x? The x now will be equal to 1, like this. And hypotenuse is also equal to 1 because the hypotenuse is our radius. So from here, if we have a 0 angle here, so the hypotenuse is equal to 1 unit. It is not going to change, it's constant because that is the radius. The opposite side here, which is the y here, is now equal to 0 because that one, this one is the y, and then it's becoming smaller and smaller until it becomes 0. What about the adjacent side? The adjacent side is now equal to 1. Okay, hypotenuse is 1, adjacent is 1, but the opposite is 0. Okay, in this graph class, in this triangle, let's find the y. So we have sine of angle theta is equal to the opposite, which is y over the hypotenuse 1. So y, what is y here? So y is equal to 1 times sine theta. So y is equal to sine theta. That is y. What about the cosine? If we take the cosine, let's have here class, cosine of angle theta here is the x. So we have x over 1, and to solve for x, cross multiply. So x here is equal to cosine theta. Okay, let's have sine. For sine, what is the value now of our sine? What is sine? Sine theta is equal to opposite, which is 0, over hypotenuse, which is 1. So for sine theta, 0 over 1 is 0. Therefore, because here the value of sine theta is 0, that's why we start from the 0 when it is sine theta. What about the cosine theta? For cosine theta is equal to the adjacent here, which is equal to 1, over the hypotenuse, which is also equal to 1. Therefore, the cosine theta starts on 1. So if this sine wave or the graph of our sine starts from 0, the cosine starts from the positive 1, because we have 1 over 1 is 1. So for the cosine wave, so this one is another color. So we have here the cosine wave like here, and then here, and then like that. See, this one is our cosine wave there, and then 3, and then goes there. So the period 1, 2, 3, 4, and there. Yeah. The period of cosine is from here up to here. That's the period of our cosine, which is still 2 pi. The period of our sine is from here up to here, which is also 2 pi. So you can see here that this one is sine wave, and it always starts on the principal axis 0, while the cosine starts on the positive 1, depending on the shift, the vertical shift. Because if we have complicated graph, then we are going to use our formula, and that is the introduction to graphing of our sine and cosine. Okay, let's have the basic graph. We have y equals sine x. Now, before we graph this one, of course, we have our principal axis, and we have the amplitude here. So it is 0, because it's simple. Now, divide this one, the principal axis, into 5. From here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Make sure that if we divide that one, we have the half here. We divide this one half again into half, and divide this into half again. Okay. Now this one is the end here. Divide this into 2, divide this, divide it. Okay. After that, we get the A here. What is the A? There is no number there. So our A here, class, which is the amplitude, is equal to 1. Now, there is no number here. There is no shift, the vertical shift. There is no number. It's so simple. Therefore, from 0 going up is the positive 1. That's amplitude of 1 unit and 1 unit down. So here is negative 1. That is the A. Okay. Period. The period, class, is the B here. You see the B there. Oh, we have bracket. Sometimes like this. Y is equal to sine, and then we are putting the x inside the parentheses there, and there is the b there. Okay, what is the b? The b is used to find the period, so don't forget this one, the period. What is 2 pi? 2 pi is one circle. One circle. 2 pi is equal to 360 degrees. So if we are going to use the regions, so this one is 2 pi. And then we divide it by b. But our b is 1 because there is no number here. So our b is 1. Therefore, our period, the whole period, is equal to 2 pi. So, one period from here up to here is 2 pi. Then, we add this 2 divided by 2 to get this one. 2 pi divided by 2, cancel the 2. So, here is the pi. Then we divide again the pi into 2. So this one is pi over 2. And for this one, we add 2 plus 1 is 3 pi divided by 2. So this one is 3 pi over 2. After that one, our graph will intersect here on the middle, so it will intersect there. Okay, because this one is sine, so it's going to start from the 0. If that is cosine, then it will start on the 1 here. So this one will go up to where? Can you see pi over 2 to here? So that one, so you have there the point to draw, and then this one will cross the middle, the center, and then it will go down here on the third. Okay. And then until there. So that is one period. From here, there, from here up to there is one period. So now you can draw. Okay, draw from here. And then it will intersect that middle or center, and then here and there. That is the period. Okay, so we can just continue. So here, alright, continue. Okay, so that is our graph. Okay, let's have number 2. Y is equal to negative sine x. So that one is negative now. So what is our amplitude? I put here already my amplitude. What's the amplitude? Is 1. It's the invisible. So our amplitude is 1. So we have 1 up and 1 down. Amplitude. Our period is 2 pi or 360 degrees divided by the letter here, the b, which is 1. So our period is 2 pi here. After that one, we have to divide this 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Now this is still 2 pi. And half of 2 pi here is pi. Half of pi is pi over 2. And half of 1 pi plus 2 pi is 3 pi over 2. Okay, 3 pi over 2. So here we have the pi here, the middle. And they are always intersecting on the middle here. So here we have here. And we have the 3 pi there, and then we have the 2 pi there. So the sign starts on the 0, but this time it is negative. So we cannot go up because that is negative. So we go down first like that one, but from the 0, not from the negative one. So from here, so from here we go down because that is negative, and then here, and then there, and then the 2 pi from period. So that is one cycle for our negative sine x. If you want to continue, then you can continue like that. Then we have continue. What if we have cosine? So 3 we are going to we have y equals negative cosine x. If this one is positive cosine x, then we start from the 1 here. By the way, the amplitude of this one is 1. So therefore 1 up and 1 down. So we have negative 1 here. So let us graph this y equals negative cosine x. So we start from the negative 1 here. If that one is positive, then we start from the positive 1. Because this one's negative, we start from the bottom here. So here, we have that one. So we cross that one. And then half of this one. Then we cross this point here. And the 2 pi is here. So we can see that this one is the trough, the lowest point, and then we have the other lowest point here. So from trough to trough, from lowest to lowest, we have our period. And after this one, we're going to have the phase shift and the vertical shift in our next video.